Are you a scaling SaaS founder?
Ready to make the leap from leading a team to leading an organization? Join us each week as we refill your think tank with actionable tips and strategies from great business minds you know and those you don't know yet. This is SaaS Fuel with your host, 5-time entrepreneur, SaaS founder, and globetrotting adventurer, Jeff Maines.
Welcome back to the SaaS Fuel podcast, where we solve problems with the precision of Sherlock Holmes, detecting opportunities where others see mysteries. I'm your host, Jeff Maines. I help B2B SaaS founders like you grow from traction to scale. Here, growth is more than just numbers. It's about crafting a future-proof company, premium valuation, and leaders who build a business of significance while living epic, adventurous lives. The biggest SaaS opportunities in 2025 and beyond are hiding in plain sight. Let's talk about how to find blue ocean hidden in the middle of highly competitive markets. Like blue ocean, think they don't exist? Think again. Did you know the SaaS market is expected to grow by over $60 billion in 2025? That's billion with a B. The world of SaaS is transforming industries at lightning speed, but the real game changer, automation. But it's not just AI. What if the biggest opportunities are hiding in the most unexpected places? They're right in the middle of manual processes that everyone's been overlooking. Let's dive in and see where the SaaS gold is hiding. Despite the rise in automation, many industries are still bogged down by manual processes that eat up time, resources, and productivity. Think about it. HR teams still managing payrolls by hand or onboarding, to customer service teams buried in repetitive queries. Efficiency is everywhere. These processes not only slow businesses down, but also cost them dearly in terms of missed opportunities for growth. Of course, the real challenge is that most companies don't realize the potential of automating these tedious tasks. And that's where SaaS can step in to revolutionize how work gets done. I've had conversations about this with a few dozen people over the last month, and they all think of it as like, hey, isn't it already automated? Like, what's left? Yes, on the surface, the obvious things, the biggest opportunities won't be discovered sitting in an office asking AI or ideating with a bunch of engineers. The opportunities are found through curiosity, field work, and conversations. The best part? Most people won't do it. So you want to find a blue ocean? Do what others won't. Here are some areas where I think you can find greenfield opportunities, blue ocean opportunities in SaaS. The first is in regulatory compliance automation. We heard from Pratasha a few weeks ago from Sprinto, and they're doing a little bit of this. But compliance is a nightmare for many industries, from finance to healthcare, where the risk of non-compliance can lead to massive fines or legal action. Traditionally, compliance involves tedious manual processes, audits, tracking regulation changes, generating reports. On SaaS platforms that offer real time automation of compliance checks and regulatory reporting can radically reduce errors, save time, and create new blue oceans in industries burdened by these complex requirements. Audits, this is a real pain, even still with the automation that exists today. Companies can pivot from spending resources on compliance to focusing on growth. Piggybacking on that, you take it a level deeper, medical research compliance. This is huge. Medical research field is under intense regulatory scrutiny and is subject to highly complex compliance requirements. Tracking data integrity, maintaining patient privacy, and ensuring adherence to protocols are currently time consuming and extremely manual processes. But the introduction of SaaS platforms that automate compliance tasks in that specific area, ensure real time data integrity checks, and also manage consent forms, that could be a game changer. With automation, medical researchers can redirect their efforts toward advancing science instead of wrestling with regulations, creating significant efficiency gains in drug discovery and clinical trials. Another area is robot maintenance and monitoring in manufacturing. As robots become integral to advanced manufacturing, the maintenance of these machines becomes a massive opportunity. Currently, most robot upkeep is manual, leading to inefficiencies and costly downtime. SaaS platforms can step in to automate predictive maintenance, where AI tracks performance data from robots in real time, of course, and then flags issues before they cause breakdowns. Automation ensures that factories remain productive. So, eliminate that downtime, which is huge for factories, while reducing reliance on human monitoring. The industry is increasingly dependent on automation, then automating the maintenance of the robots themselves can unlock greater scalability. And who knows, maybe there'll be robots that do maintenance on robots and then maybe robots that do maintenance on those robots. I don't know. Maybe SaaS controls it all. Another one is precision agriculture automation. As climate change pressures grow, we've got farmers, family farmers, corporate farmers, a lot of things that are going on in the agricultural industry right now. And that industry is increasingly adopting intelligent farming technologies. Well, a lot of processes are automated. Like you can drive a harvester around a field with GPS without somebody in it now, which is just like mind blowing. There is still significant room for SaaS platforms to manage precision agriculture through automation. Imagine real-time monitoring system that track things like soil health, predict irrigation needs, and even monitor crop diseases. Check that out. That's pretty cool, right? By automating these vital processes, farmers can reduce waste, increase yields, and minimize the environmental impact of farming. And this will be crucial for feeding a growing population in a sustainable way, offering a huge opportunity for SaaS innovation. Fewer farms feeding more people, big opportunity. These emerging industries are on the verge of automation revolutions, and the SaaS solutions that rise to meet these needs will be the ones to unlock new blue oceans in the coming decade. Even going back to a more obvious example in HR, payroll is better. Some great SaaS companies out there. You got Gusto, Rippling, Deal, which is just blown up. But onboarding at most companies honestly still sucks. The bigger the company, the worse it is. I mean, tell me you're the exception in the comments. That's cool. But tools like UiPath, Moxo, Remote Bridge are all working to make this better. I mean, they turn days or maybe a week into hours. Think about 80% less onboarding nonsense at scale. That's huge, huge gains. But at its core, the biggest SaaS opportunities in 2025 and beyond lie in automating manual processes across unexpected areas. Winners will do what others won't, and the problems we'll solve tomorrow are buried. You'll have to become a detective to find them. And the great news is that most people won't. They'll stay at the surface. The majority will create Me Too solutions and try to squeeze, 5% more efficiency out of something in a red ocean. The big winners will do the hard work by identifying, solving, and automating non obvious problems and tasks. They're only non-obvious if you aren't doing them, if you're not the company that's paying for them. But solving these can drive massive efficiency, unlock hidden growth, and stay miles ahead of the competition. Our expert guest last week was Anthony Nitsos, fractional CFO. We talked about what makes companies more valuable, metrics, things founders miss that cost them big and create frustration. And our founder last Tuesday was Pritesh Vora, co-founder and VP of Growth of Marketing at Sprinto, the #1 rated compliance automation platform. We talked about scaling SaaS 3 times over, challenging the status quo, strategic partnerships, building with customer insights, and not chasing shiny objects. If you missed either one of those episodes, go back and give them a listen. My guest today is Renan Devillieres, serial entrepreneur and founder of OSS Ventures, where he helps manufacturers digitize their production sites. After co-founding a startup in Brazil and selling his first venture to Google in San Francisco, Renan now focuses on driving social and environmental change through technology and corporate strategy. He's passionate about addressing the major forces shaping our future, including climate change and technological innovation. Welcome someone who finds non-obvious solution and creates exceptional value. Renan Devillieres. Hey, Renan, welcome to SaaS Fuel.
Hey, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
Well, tell me a little bit about your journey from working as an economist to founding OSS Ventures. And what inspired you to focus on digitizing manufacturing production sites?
For sure. If I'm being honest, there was a lot of luck involved. I'm a lucky guy. I started my studies in France, and because in France, if you are quite okay at mathematics, the state pays you to go to school, which is, I know, a foreign concept for the US. But at the end, you either have to pay it back or to become a public servant. And so I had no money. So I became a public servant for 2 years and 1 day. And so
Nice.
that's how I became an economist for 2 years. It was actually very interesting because you look at the big picture and everything, but I realized I'm not a big picture, 10-year time frame kind of guy. I'm more of a I want to grapple things and do things and see the impacts fast. And so
Love
I put
that.
I put a curriculum, and I told myself, okay, I want to go to private sector. And so if you want to go to private sector, you have to be CEO, right? Because otherwise it's of no use. So I put on Google company that created the most CEOs, and it told me McKinsey and Company. I didn't know what consulting was, but I put a resume at McKinsey and Company, and they hired me. And my first assignment was in a factory, because
Okay.
they told themselves, okay, the guy is a math kind of guy, and we have a supply chain issue, so it's a lot of Excel involved. So probably this guy is going to be good. And I fell in love. I just loved it. I'm a nerd. I'm a big nerd. I always loved complex systems. I love tinkering with things. And I really think that there are only two complex systems that are really interesting in the world, and that's factories and big tech companies. So,
Interesting.
yeah, because
It's
it's
a good
big
combination, though.
yeah, exactly. It's big systems and complex things, and if you're an engineer, it's basically heaven on earth. So yeah, so that's how I got to factories. And fast forward 10 years, I did basically everything you can do in an operational company. So I was a consultant, but I became a factory director, special project manager, quality manager, supply chain manager. I did everything you can think of, essentially in the luxury sector. And then I told myself, okay, I'm a nerd. I like coding. I love it. I'm going to create a tech company. And so I created a tech company as a co-founder because I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I wanted to have my own thing. I think I did every single mistake under the sun you can do with your first company. So, for example, I coded my first version of my first app for 6 months without talking to one user because,
Oh,
I was
wow.
a genius. So, of
Sure.
course, yeah, of course. So, spoiler alert, 0 users. But after 2 years, we found product market fit, and it was pretty brutal. We went from 0 to 10 million revenue in like 10 months. Recruited 80 people, went to seed Series A, Series B in like 2 years. Lived in San Francisco, and sold my shares in the company. And this is when I discovered tech, and I discovered the San Francisco ecosystem and everything. And so after that, I made some money, and I was just asking myself what to do. And I told myself, okay, I love tech. I love factories. Tech in factories, is it like a category? And so I called a lot of factories. I called a lot of startups. And I realized the category is just incredible. And when I
Yes.
realized that, I told myself, okay, I'm going to be an investor / builder in that space. And that's how OSS Ventures was created 4.5 years ago.
Outstanding. And so when you built your first tech company, how did you decide what to build? How did you decide what problem to solve?
So we were 3 co-founders, and we made a list of the criteria that we wanted to have for that company. And one criteria was trying to solve a pressing social issue. Another was leveraging something really scalable in terms of tech. And the third was big market. And so we nailed on one very specific problem, which is the matching problem for people who don't have a LinkedIn to jobs. So basically, how do you match people to jobs like cashier or blue collar workers or warehouse
Sure.
workers? How do you match correct people to correct jobs? And this is very badly done. Basically, the journey, if you are someone who worked 2 times in a row as a cashier, you are going to write a badly written resume. You are going to send it to a bunch of recruiters, and they are going to see cashier, cashier, cashier. And
Right.
so we told ourselves there must be a better way. So created a bunch of tests to test for what is called neural preferences, which is big words to say, do you like to talk with people or do you like to not talk with people? Do you like details or do you like to do 10 things at the same time? And so basically, if you don't want to deal with people and you are very good with details, you're probably going to be good in a warehouse. But if you like to talk with people and you like to have 10 things going on at the same time, probably service or like hotel receptionist is going to be for you.
Sure.
And so that's how we created that. And we basically were selling good, already matched candidates to big recruiters. That's what we were doing. It worked.
Oh, that's really, really smart. And then you've branched out, and since then in OSS Ventures, really identified unique market opportunities in really diverse industries, factories, oil rigs. What strategies did you use to build solutions for those environments, or to find the problem to solve?
Yeah. So we have some beliefs at OSS Ventures, and one of our beliefs is that we are not able to spot markets. That's a belief. And so as we are not able to spot markets, how do you find ideas and how do you find markets? Answer, you go and you use your feet. And so my team and I, we have visited 860 factories in the last 4 years, like on the ground, like one full day in the factory, in the oil rig, in the mining operations. And we ask people, we ask them, okay, how many people are working to do what? What would be a good idea? What would you pay for this? What are your current challenges? And we log all of that in a very big database. We have 14,000 hours of user interview.
Wow.
And we are very data driven in finding the markets that we start companies in. Maybe I can take an example because it's one of my favorite examples.
Yes, please.
We went to an oil rig. So you imagine like 15 minutes boat to get there. And we have that methodology where we ask everyone, if you want to talk with us because you feel like you have something you would like digital guys could help, talk with us. And so the doctor on the oil rig said, I want to talk with the digital people. I said, okay. So we went and we had a 1 hour conversation with the guy. And he printed like 40 sheets of paper. And he said, look, there are 600 people here. I manage the health of all those people. And it is extremely dangerous because I have like underwater welders and they are like putting their life in danger. And I have to do all those checks to see if their breathing is good and everything. And he says, I routinely manage 4,000 acts per year. And I'm using an Excel sheet. And I'm managing more than $1 million in various medicines and whatever. And I'm using another Excel sheet. And we're like, that's very interesting. So we called mines, we called ships, we called basically every single place where there is a complex environment and you have like some doctors managing the thing. And we found that the pain points was actually existing, that the market was potentially 800 million. And we found something, which is that some hidden company based in Minnesota was doing 40 million sales for 10 years and 20 million EBITDA every year.
Wow.
Like clockwork. And I was like, okay, that sounds like a good market.
Yeah.
And so you don't find that on your couch being smart.
Right.
You find that by going on an oil rig.
I love that. And it's really doing things that other people either aren't willing to do or don't even think to do. I mean, it's a crazy thing, and I love that you're like, well, we're going to go find a problem to solve, and anybody that wants to talk to us on this oil rig, come talk to the digital guys.
Yeah, exactly. Come talk to the digital guys, and we like to do some things differently. And so, for example, the oil rig company, we went and we said to them, all right, here is what we are going to do. We are going to visit 3 of your operational sites. And we are going to tell you all the pain points and everything that you could do. And if there are already solutions, we are going to tell you about them. But if we find pain points that we think we can help with, we're going to build it. And if it works, you start paying. And you pay 0 for us going to the ORIG. And at first, we got no response because they thought it was a scam.
Yeah, it's too good to be true.
Yeah, but it's actually what we've been doing, and yeah, we are very, very fortunate because that methodology is really working. And now we did some fancy things. We built an LLM on top of our user research database, and so now we can query and say what are the pain points of that type of industry and everything. It's quite fun.
That's outstanding. And how many companies have you started that way?
Yeah, so we started 24 companies and we stopped 4 companies. And out of the 20 companies, 16 did seed and Series A. And the total of the companies was doing December last year, 25 million ARR. We're expecting next year to be 40 million ARR, and we are live in 2,200 operational sites.
Wow, that is exceptional.
Yeah, that's cool.
And the companies that you started, 75% of them, got to Series A and funding. I mean, within 4.5 years. I mean, that is exceptional when you look at the numbers, especially if you look at the VC model. Like even there, 1 in 10, and you go outside of that, and the failure rates are pretty bad. 75% success is absolutely exceptional. How do what are the factors that contributed to that success rate?
I would say several things. First, we are in a blue ocean market. Operations taken like manufacturing plus supply chain plus ORIGs plus operations, 25% of GDP, 40% of workers, 0.7% of VC money.
Wow.
And SaaS spend is going to double in the next 10 years in that part of the economy. So it's basically one of the last part of the economy where the SaaS revolution did not happen. So the market is it's a treasure waiting to be found. So that's first. We have a good market. So I would say that's one. Second is we take the founder risk out of the way. We had 0 founder churn in 5 years. And there is a reason for that. Is because we start with the founder and we say to the founder, okay, we are going to work together for 12 weeks. But at the end, we can say no and we can change founder. And we fire 40% of the founder we start with.
Wow.
Yeah.
But in 12 weeks. That's so much better than knowing in 2 years.
Yeah. So we actively take the founder risk up front and we deal with the pain at the 12th week. And it's always painful, but we fire the founders saying, okay, we don't see ourselves creating a generational company with you. So we try as much as possible to take the founder risk out of the picture. So that's second, I would say. Wow. And the third is we focus crazily on numbers. So we focus crazily on conversion numbers, usage number, and we measure product market fit at a very, very early stage with a almost obsessional focus on numbers, and we sometimes actively stop projects before launching them based on numbers. And so, yeah, I would say those are the three factors. What we are trying to do is to send at least 50% of our companies to 10 million ARR on year 4 to 5. And so we already have 10 million ARR company, and next week we should have 4. And then each year there should be +1, +3 per year getting to that milestone.
That's exceptional. So are you finding the problem and then finding the CEO and then building a solution? Yep. So you're building a company around solving that problem? Or what does the order look like?
So the order is first we find the problem and we make sure that it's a good problem. Usually it takes 20 or 30 ideas to get to one problem worth solving. Once we have that, we do market exploration. So we go to market before having the product. So we go to market and we take a representative sample. And usually if we have conversion rate between 5 and 10% total, cold call to conversion, we say, okay, that's a good problem to solve, and we are starting to invest. When we start to invest, we recruit usually a technical and a non-technical founder. And we start building. and the objective is to have the first version live in 12 weeks.
Wow.
The reason why we are able to do that is that we have a base tech project that is always the same. And so the base tech of the project, it's compatible with common ERPs. The cybersecurity is enterprise ready and everything. So we have that base layer of code that you only have to put on top the part that is particular to your SaaS. And the objective is in the first year to reach 500,000 ARR. We usually get there 75% of the time. So 3 times out of 4.
Wow.
And then, so 500, and then it's 500, 1.5, 3, 9 ARR end of period. So that's what we do. And so I think we've been focused at that for 4 years and a half now, and we only focus on that. And so don't ask me how to go to market with a prosumer product. I don't know. But if you want to go to market,
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, if you want to go to market for a software price 20 to 100K per year in the operation world, we have some things on that.
Yeah, that is really smart that you, especially having that base layer. So you've got the integrations, you have all that stuff done, and you're building on top of that. Because that's one of the things I think a lot of companies wait, and they'll build their thing and then try and figure out how to integrate it later. But you've got that layer done, and then you're building the application on top of that to serve the function. It's really smart.
Yeah. Well, it's really because it's rooted in my entrepreneur journey and experience. At some point, I had like 15, 20 engineers. 80% of them were working on things that I was absolutely mad not finding on the shelf because I needed to integrate with my big clients. I needed to do some cybersecurity audit. I need to build everything but my product. And so I told myself, I'm a nerd, so I'm a system guy. I told myself, okay, if I become an investor, I'm going to reinvest each time to pay 80% of the engineer doing the same thing that is not product related, which makes no sense. From a capital efficiency point of view, it makes 0 sense. And so I told myself, okay, we're going to have the common layer and just build on top.
And is that a piece that you license out, or is that something that you keep proprietary just to your companies?
Yeah, it's proprietary for the companies. We've been asked several times by other startups wanting to go to market in our vertical to give them the assets and everything. And I said to them, if you're good, we're going to invest and you're going to get it. And if not, no.
That's a great way to do it. You get somebody else take the market risk.
Yeah.
And you said you look at 30 or 40 ideas to find a good one.
Yep.
How do you define that good one? How do you decide that this is an idea that's worth pursuing?
Yeah. So one thing that is really counterintuitive to most people is that my team decides which company to launch. I don't decide.
That's smart.
But I decide on the criteria. And so there are criteria about market penetration, so existing market penetration. To say it short, it's really be a kick-ass business to go into an existing market with more than 50% equipment rate. We really, really don't like to do that. Our sweet spot is 10% equipment rate, new category, with a spin that makes it so that the category becomes infinitely better. As we have a fund and we invest in companies that are already done on top of the builder, I'm seeing a lot of companies trying to go to market in operations. They all want to do predictive maintenance. Maintenance software equipment rate is 70%. The rate at which it is being replaced is 2.5% per year. So the market is small and it's hyper competitive. Price is down. And so you better have an incredible spin to take that market, because otherwise there's no way in hell you are going to create a big company in that category. And so we really look at those categories. We really look also at the value created. We often say that it's very easy to find 30% solutions, and it's really hard to find 10x solutions. And so 10x solutions are a spin where you can explain that the value created is immensely better than the alternative. And so one consistent finding that we have, especially in our vertical, is that to penetrate a logo, to penetrate a client, you are talking to a guy who has the pain. But when you want to scale in the account and get the big bucks, you are not competing with other subjects in your category because your product is supposed to be 10x better than the alternative. You're competing with other projects in the company. Because those big companies, they can only carry 5 to 10 projects per year. And so the question is not, am I going to go with you? It's, am I going to do these projects and not another type of project? So your real competition for the bucks and the integration in the company is this. And so you have to be able to be top 3, top 5 subjects in a big company. And so that's another thing that we look at. And so, for example, the company that I told you about health management, we actively target companies where they have problems of people dying on the job. And it's actually a number that gets reported up to the shareholders. And so for their access to capital and their ESR ratings, they have to be able to show that they are doing a good job at trying to get that number down. And so we only build those kind of solutions where at the end, you're going to be an exco level discussion. So we have 12 criteria, but basically we have all those criteria. And exactly like for the founders, it's way better to take the pain up front than to create something that is okay-ish, that has exco, yeah, it's nice what you're doing, guys. Not priority, but nice. And so if you are there, you're basically tanked. And you won't have the kind of explosive growth that you need. And so we take a lot of, we study a lot on our markets, we talk a lot with users, we talk a lot with stakeholders, with buyers and everything, because there's that thing with lean startup and everything, saying, nah, you just choose a space and then you pivot your way to success. We are not like that. we study our way to success and we dataify our way to success to make sure that we are solving something important. And then we go.
Ready to future-proof your company and scale to new heights? Dive into the ultimate resource designed for SaaS founders and C-suite executives. Champion Leadership Group gives you an unfair advantage in scaling up revenue and outwitting competitors. Imagine solving your biggest scaling headaches and hitting 5, 10, 20 million ARR and beyond with ease. We take away the guesswork and the grunt work and replace it with framework by supporting you with our on-demand fractional C-suite team, a powerful operating system built into software, and a thriving community of fellow scaling SaaS founders. That's how we make it happen. If you're stuck at your current revenue level, this is your ticket out. Feel like your company is the world's best kept secret? We amplify your success. And hey, if you're already crushing it but too busy to breathe, we've got you. We'll free up 20% of your time in the first month. Now is the time to upgrade from traction to scale. If you're ready to work smarter and not just grind harder, schedule a 10-minute growth brainstorm. It's free, not a sales call, and we'll pinpoint the number one thing blocking revenue. Visit championleadership.com. That's where leaders evolve and companies transform. I think that's brilliant, and it's not something that most other companies are doing. That most startup studios are doing. It's just very, very different approach, and I like that it's hands-on. It's really working. You're doing the hard work that most people are not willing to do. They want to search the internet. They want to sit in their office and make decisions and look at spreadsheets. But this is really on the ground, having conversations with real people, solving real problems.
Yeah.
It also fits your mission, like you said in the beginning, of making the world better. If you're working with a company that and you're reporting the statistics, or you're seeing those statistics of how many people died, and you're creating solutions that keep that from happening, I'd say that's a good thing.
Yeah, we
that's
try,
a very good thing, especially if you're one of the people that didn't die because somebody had a much better solution.
Yeah, and I don't want to get political because I'm apolitical, but I think there is a great divide between people who are served by technology and people who are not. And blue collars, like those underwater welders, they are making big bucks, but they are putting their life in danger. And frankly,
Yeah.
there is zero tech bros caring for them. And so we strive to be the tech bros caring for those people. And 80% of our users don't have an email because they are blue collars, and email is $6 to $10 per year or per month. And so they don't pay emails for those guys. So it's to tell you how disconnected that user base is from technology. And so
Wow.
that's where a lot of value can be created, because the blue collars have been just deserted by the tech bros over those last years, but they are coming
That's
back
true.
in full force.
So how is AI affecting the business and what you're doing in those environments?
So it's changing everything for sure. And
Yeah.
there are two big things that are interesting. The first big thing that is happening is that AI is actually hardware and factories. So we are working with chip makers, we are working with data center people, we are working with the people making the construction of the data centers. Did you know that in a data center, 40% of the cost of a data center is the labor of people doing the construction work of the data center? So it's actually
Wow.
physical. And so people training the LLM are just one layer of abstraction away from where it really happens, which is producing the chips and creating the data centers. And so we are making the software and helping those people that are at the very basis of the pyramid. And which is true for the data center and true for energy management. So we are working a lot with the energy, utility, oil and gas, electricity, nuclear, industrial base. The growth rate is that of startups. We are working with one nuclear company here in the US, and they called us and they say, yeah, we really like what we've done with the 3 sites that we have today. We are scheduled to have 30 sites in 5 years. Can we sit down? And I was like, yeah, sure. Sure. So most people forget that Silicon Valley first word is silicon because there were chip makers over there. And that
Yep.
NVIDIA is the first investment or one of the first investment of Sequoia. And so I think it's coming back in full force, and the sheer physicality of the AI revolution is going to come back in full force, and we are here for it. So that's the kind of unexpected part that AI is changing our business. It's actually a big boost because it's physical. The other part is that in a factory, basically, there are very different type of factories. But in factories, you have the hours of machines. So it's called capex. And so you have a certain number of machines, and the machines need to be operating. They're operating at a certain rate with certain efficiency and blah, blah, blah. And you have the humans. The humans actually doing things with their hands, going down, almost rock bottom. There's not much to be done there. But the humans using their brains to operate the system is the most of the people in a factory. And so AI is doing basically two things. It makes the machines smarter. Making the machine smarter is, for example, allowing machines to operate while having non-perfect context. So before
Yep.
you needed to give perfect context to a machine, and you need to say you are going to go from there to there and then to there, and with that angle, and then you are going to drill, and then you are going to do that. And now AI can say, okay, this is the context because I see with like cameras and blah blah. And so I auto create the programmation with which I will do the thing. And so now we are getting to a point where you can say to a robot, pick the blue box, and it picks the blue box. And
Yeah.
so that's changed everything. We have one company called Vitesse Automation that is doing just that. It's called context aware robotics. It's very interesting. And so it's unlocking a lot of things. We have very good sources that Amazon kind of cracked the code on almost fully autonomous warehouse centers. And so a lot of humans are going to be replaced by those context aware robots. So that's first. For the humans doing brain things, the next big wave of automation is going to be white collars. I'm not sure there will be as many engineers, especially research and development engineers, as we have. Or we are going to see the same effect that was in coding, when in coding we did productivity gains that were just incredible, but the demand soared much more than the productivity gains. So you have more coders, but they are doing
Right.
you have 2 times more coders, but they are doing 10 times the output. I think we are going maybe to see the same thing with production and research and development engineers. So we are going to 2x the output per engineer, but maybe the demand will go 10x because everything will be cheaper. When you think about it, everything that is around you has been done in the factory. Everything.
Yeah.
And there is a good question to ask yourself, which is how many hours of research engineer went into designing your mic, your shelf, your lamp, and blah, blah, blah. And what if the cost were divided by 100? Would we have very different lamps on demand? Would we have better mics? I don't know. We are on the brink of that kind of revolution. It's going to be awesome.
I think so. It'd be really interesting to see what happens, and especially as that intellectual work continues to transition, and what happens to the roles. What jobs will we be doing? 5, 10, 20 years down the road.
The world is going to be a very different place in 20 years.
Yes, it's happening. I've never seen technology move so fast as the last couple of years, and we've seen a lot of things over time, but nothing move as quick as AI has.
There is a simple heuristic, which is that there are more scientists alive right now than there were scientists between year 0 and year 2000.
That's interesting.
So acceleration makes sense. Otherwise, what would those guys do?
And then you have technology that's iterating on itself also. So technology is making technology smarter along with those scientists.
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of good things. Well, you're definitely passionate about social and environmental change. I mean, how does your work with OSS Ventures contribute to that?
Yeah, so we have that. We have one of our value, which is called build something the world needs. So we actively ask ourselves, is what we are building going to be a positive change in the world? I'm not for degrowth or anything weird like that. I think we need growth. We need new things. We are going to up the standard of living. And I think we can do that while having a different impact on our environment and lifting everyone up and not leaving too many people behind. Which is something awesome about physical and manufacturing and everything, which is that it has a social footprint that is way higher than pure technology and software. Because a lot of people are involved in making physical things. And so it's a big part of who we are and what we are trying to do at OSS. And also, I think it's a big reason why we are able to attract world-class entrepreneurs. 70% of our founders have already exited a previous company. So they already made some money and sold the company. And so I think they come to us also because when I say to them, we're going to bring awesome tech to the world of operations, and it has good social and environmental footprint, and you are in a place where most people don't go because there's not much collision between those two worlds. It really resonates with them, and they really like it. So I think it's a big part of why we have so many incredible entrepreneurs wanting to work with us.
I like that. And you're right. For whatever reason, the social impact is kind of a secondary thought, if it's a thought at all. Or maybe it's that, they think that there's not as much money there. And so first-time founders or maybe investors, don't focus on that as much, but they're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
You can certainly do both. And I really like the idea of having multi-time founders because they get it. They've been on that journey. And now a lot of times, I think you're right. They see an opportunity to do something, not only build another great company, but also have a positive impact in the world.
Exactly.
I think that's awesome.
And one of my favorite founder, Daniel Ek from Spotify, he said that now he wants to do things in style, which I love.
I like that.
And I think when you made a bunch of money and that you are lucky enough to be good at technology, which is one of the highest leverage activity / skill set that you can have. The true style is doing it for a large social and environmental impact and footprint.
So how do you integrate corporate strategy with technology to drive innovation and growth with the companies that you work with?
So having our foot on the shop floor in so many factories, we bucket companies in 4 buckets. The 4 buckets, we call them the loss for the cause. It's 44% of companies. They don't have a budget, they don't have a vision, they don't get technology, they have troves of other issues. So it's not going to be a subject for them. Unfortunately, those companies can drag a startup down with them because some local guy is interested in technology and wants to do his project. And so you start working with the guy for like 6 months and then you never scale. So we actively avoid those companies and we actively try to score the companies that we work with to be sure that we are not working with a company which is like that. There are a few very simple checkboxes to ask those companies. Have you ever scaled a technological project ever? If the answer is no, maybe you'll be the first. Probably not. So we have a few. So loss for the cause, 44%. Then we have the ones that we call asking questions. The asking questions are actively doing that, asking themselves questions. So they start having some budget. They start having some project managers, consultants, whatever, and they are honest in their quest to understand what is technology. We actively recommend our startups to not work with those either. It's 14-20%. The thing is, in those companies, they're asking questions, but most of the time, they won't be scaling things. They are honest in the fact that they're asking themselves questions, but it's a very good play field for consultants and a very bad play field for startups. So we recommend our startups not working with those. And then you have the 2 last categories that we love. The first, the third category, we call them the getting there. So the getting there, they started scaling some projects. They have some exco member who is aware of what technology is and has a clear vision, projects, budget, objectives. And those companies, they have scaled 1 or 2 projects and are starting to build a big architecture and they understand they want to become tech companies. It's 15% of companies. We actively like our startups working with them because they are honest in their will to integrate technology. They can do it at scale and it's clear. And then you have what we call the doer visionaries. It's 6% of all factories. And the doer visionaries, those are tech companies. And so it's very easy to see. So, for example, we are working with one of the leading in the world tire manufacturers. They have 400 software engineers. They contribute to open source projects.
Wow.
And they are using artificial intelligence to change the formula of their tire while in production based on inputs of their historical data. Like, those guys are just genius. And those people, if they choose to scale your solution because it's a part of what they envision for the tech, it's going to be fast and it's going to be at the right price. And we actively work with those. So we are working with 20-25% of the market. And it's fine because we think that in 5 to 10 years, that 25% will be 50%. Because either companies will have adapted or died, or the already mature company are going to be the most the most growth intensive companies. So when I started OSS Ventures 4 years and a half ago, the 25% was more like 50%, 15. And one of the best advice I got after 1 year of operations was a senior advisor telling me, "Oh no, stop trying to save everyone. you are not there to help people create a tech strategy. You are there to sell software. And so go with the ones who want to be helped. And that was the single best piece of advice I ever got.
That's really, really good. So what do you think the future of manufacturing is? I think people would be shocked just to think about that. A tire manufacturer, 400 engineers, and just that much technology. But that's what we see everywhere we look in manufacturing is it's become much more sophisticated than I think anybody really realizes.
Yeah.
So what does the future look like?
I think there is going to be more advanced and smarter products. So for example, Tesla, like we are going to have self-driving, but we are going to have self-driving planes. We are going to have intelligent tires that are different depending on the road they are on because of software. We're going to have all those incredibly smart products with a level of innovation in terms of software, hardware integration, and new materials and everything that is unlike everything we have ever seen. And there is going to be a lot of software in the factory also. For example, very few people realize that Tesla are getting the price down and down and down of their product. There is only one other company in the world that is able to drive the cost of their cars down. It is BYD, Build Your Dreams. One of the big reasons is that they are able to do the casting of the hull of the car in one go, which is unheard of. Like you go to General Motors, they are doing like 50 different pieces and welding them together. And
Right.
so why are they able to do that? It's a Giga press, so it's an enormous press, and there is an AI that is changing the way that the press is pressing the thing real time with like less than 1 millisecond between the sensor and the change of program.
Wow.
And because of AI and sensor, you are able to do the hull in one go. And so we are going to see more and more and more of that, of deep software integration into the fabric of physical things. And we are going to have incredibly smart products. And with that, it is very likely that the supply chains are going to be less extended because the world that existed 20 years ago was you have one product, you change the product every 10 years. The product is kind of dumb. And so you drive costs down because you go to low-cost countries to have that particular piece done and to another low-cost country. And then you put all on a ship, you do half the world, and then you assemble everything. That's done. For example, in cars, the supply chain is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Everyone is vertically integrating because you had so much value with the software that you don't need to go to low-cost countries anymore. So even the iPhone went from China to India, where the cost of labor is higher. I would not be surprised that the next step is from India to the US.
Interesting.
Yeah, because when you do a lot of software, you automate a lot of things. You can pay high-cost people because they are doing engineered things. And so you don't need to have low-cost people. And so you don't need to do those supply chain and those ships going all over the world and everything.
That makes a lot of sense. So you're really having high value people or high knowledge people doing high value tasks.
Yeah, I mean, one of the richest people in the world created a factory in California. And California is expensive.
Yes. So do you think that the changes like in automotive, do you think that's happening because of competition? And they just didn't do it before because they didn't have to? There was no pressure to change and get better faster? Or do you think it's just technology catching up?
No, I think technology was there. And what changed is someone came to a kind of oligopolistic market structure and said, I'm going to break it down. And Elon Musk did the same for space.
Yeah.
Space innovation was nil for 10 years. It was run by bureaucrats in EU. I'm not proud of that. And Elon came and said, we are going to divide the cost of a launcher by 100. And we are going to reuse the rockets. And that's it. And no technocrat in the EU would have done that, and no technocrat in NASA would have done that either.
Right.
And so I think the tech is there. Is the entrepreneurs and the willingness to invest big, to win big on those markets that's missing. But we are going to see that in every single part of the value chain. For example, the next big thing that we're experiencing at OSS Ventures is on energy. On energy, people are building smaller reactors, fusion reactors and everything, and venture capitalists are going crazy over all of those. And what's very interesting is that it's exactly the same as space and cars. Like, what was the innovation, the true innovation in nuclear power over the last 20 years? Answer, zero.
Nothing,
like 0.00.
Yeah, I love that. Somebody comes in and says, I'm going to break this market up. I'm going to break it open, and there's going to be innovation, which is so healthy.
Yeah.
For the segment.
And good for the consumer.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Well, I have to ask you this. I should have asked this maybe at the beginning, but your experience co-founding and selling your first startup kind of buried the lead there. You sold your first startup to Google. So kind of a big deal there.
I sold my shares to existing investors, and Google happened to be one of the investors.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, what key lessons did you learn from that journey, initially co-founding and selling?
I would say that my first learning is that I'm a solo founder in OSS, and it's probably a good decision. I'm not sure I'm a good co-founder.
It's good to know that.
Which is good to know.
Yeah, self-awareness.
And you don't know
That's
until you've done
good.
the thing. So that's first. But I'm very grateful because my co-founders were gracious when it was time to break up and to do that. And the company is still operating. It's a big company, so we are happy about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
That's
cool.
awesome.
So I would say that's first. Second is I learned so much about what building a product is, what finding a market is, and let's say I'm not entirely proud of how we spent our investors' money. We could have been so much more efficient, but I think it goes with being first-time founders, right?
Sure.
But yeah, and it was a huge inspiration for OSS Ventures, that experience. So that would be second. And the third, which is more personal learning, I do my best work when I'm really passionate about the thing. And I like, if I could tell my 20-year-old self something, it would be to follow the passion more than follow titles or big salaries or whatever. Like, I'm best when I follow my passion. That's where work feels like holidays,
Outstanding. So good. Where can people learn more about you and about OSS Ventures online?
Yeah, sure. So, of course, on our website, oss.ventures, we are pretty active on LinkedIn. We are pretty active on Twitter, formerly Twitter, now x.com. And if you want to create a startup for the operations world, or you are just interested in that, or you are an investor and you want to invest in those type of companies, feel free to reach. We are always looking for more and for more information for the ecosystem to grow. Last, if you are a factory director or a supply chain director, or you have a warehouse, or you have a mining rig, or whatever, we are always happy to come and see what's happening in your area of expertise. And it's always a blast. I still go to factories maybe once or twice a month, and
That's
it's literally the best days of my month.
Outstanding. We'll make sure and link that in the description. I think that's one of the things that makes you successful. You're still involved in doing the things that made you successful, and willing to get out there and be on the ground and in the environment to find those problems and solve them.
Yeah, and I have now a head of product. He was the first hire of the company. His name is Leo, and Leo had surgery, so I replaced Leo for like 4 weeks. And at the end of the 4 weeks, Leo came back, and I said to him, you know what? Your job is way funnier than mine, but but it's a cool job.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for being on SaaS Fuel. It's a great discussion.
Thanks, Jeff. It was a blast.
Thanks again, Renan, for coming on the show and sharing your journey and insights. I really respect how you and your team put on the detective hats to find those non-obvious, super high-value solutions that are profitable, and we want those, but also serve the greater good. Very, very cool. It's a great combination. Well, you can learn more about Renan and OSS Ventures at oss.ventures. That's right, oss.ventures. As always, all links, highlights, resources, and full show notes are available at saasfuel.com. And be sure to check us out on YouTube as well. Full episodes, video shorts, outtakes, trainings, lots of great content on there. It's at Champion Leadership on YouTube. If you would, take a minute and share this episode with someone else in SaaS who loves innovation. Everyone who shares this week gets a mystery magnifying glass. It doesn't just zoom in on clues or focus on new SaaS ideas. It highlights hidden sales opportunities, overlooked customer insights, and, occasionally your misplaced coffee mug. Perfect for a modern day Sherlock. Join us next Thursday on our SaaS Fuel Expert Series, where my guest is Jocko van der Kooi, founder of Winning by Design and thought leader on revenue growth and strategy. He's the author of Revenue Architecture, Blueprints for a SaaS Sales Organization, and 7 other best-selling books on driving growth for software as a service. And then next Tuesday, we have founder Clay Sharman, founder and CEO of Cradio.ai. He shares how his AI-driven platform is transforming prospect engagement and bridging the gaps between technology and customer needs. I will see you next time, and as always, enjoy the journey.
Thanks for listening to SaaS Fuel. Full show notes for each episode, which includes a summary, key takeaways, quotes, and any resources mentioned, are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're enjoying the content and getting value from these episodes, please leave us a rating and review at ratethispodcast.com/SaaSFuel. We'll be sure to read these out on future episodes.